Hello YouTube, welcome back to Zephyrco. We are here with Fox's first place at a
Regional flight
at the YCS Memphis.
I actually ended up getting like the worst luck in the main event for the YCS, and I'll go ahead and get into my tournament report at the end of the video. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and just show you guys the deck and what I played and what you should be playing. Alright, first of all, 3 Candina. Always play her at 3. She searches every Trickstar card. No reason to not play her at 3. She also burns for spells and traps. 3 Licorice. This is your combo maker. It opens up a lot of plays. It dodges things like Strike if you play it right. And the fact that she's a level 3 is just insane because you can go into really good rank 3s and just tear up your opponent's board. 1 Lilybell. You don't really want to run Lily at more than 1. It's a pretty insane card. 1 Honest. You need to be able to out True Draco. It's usually your worst matchup. However, I played 2 True Draco and 1 2-0, so I guess I was wrong on that. 3 Ash Blossom. I didn't play this for the main event. I actually ended up only playing this in the regional flight. I wish I could have played it for the main event, and it probably would have saved me 1 game in one of my opponent's matchups, but it is what it is. So 3 Droll and Lock. I see a lot of people main this at 2. I think you should main it at 3 right now, especially since there's the Pendulum FTK going on. You really don't want to get FTK'd. 2 Ghost Ogre. Like I said, FTK. It hits Diagram. A lot of people will try and hit the Candina with the Ghost Ogre, which is like the worst play you can do. What you want to do in the Trickstar mirror match is you want to save it for when they activate the field spell, and then you just pitch it then, and then you don't have to worry about losing your spell trap. Of course, you don't have to use it then either. You can save it if they like make a big monster threat or something. 2 Eater of Millions. Like I said, we need to out big monsters. It's like the biggest problem in the deck. 3 Stage. It's another searcher just like Candina, except it only searches monsters. Being able to just prevent your opponent from activating a spell trap is pretty insane. And then the field says you must activate it at the end phase or else send it to the graveyard. So if they have the option to activate, you have to activate it. 3 Terraforming. It's pretty important that you draw your searchers in general. Terraforming gets you there. 3 Scapegoat. This is basically what you use to summon your extra deck monsters most of the time. Anytime you resolve this, I'd say 70 to 80% of the time you resolve it, you're more than likely going to win. I actually don't think there's a time in the tournament where I resolved it that I didn't actually win. 2 Desires. A lot of people play this at 1. Again, you need to draw your search cards. You don't actually have to worry about banishing a lot of your cards through Desires. I resolved 2 Desires and still had plenty of cards to draw. I think I did end up banishing all 3 of my Candina, but the 2 Desires still ended up helping. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. It's basically MST, but better. You get to banish True Draco stuff, so you don't have to worry about that. You can banish Pendulum, so they don't go the extra. And you can banish Reincarnation so it doesn't go to grave. 1 Monster Reborn. I ended up playing this over Regeki because they both do the same thing when it comes to outing a monster board. They both out a monster board, except this also gives you a monster when you do it, and you can use that for like link plays, or like say your opponent has a board load in grave, you can steal it. 3 Reincarnation. I actually mostly just like this because I was able to res my Trickstars. It helped me go into the extra deck and make some link plays and stuff like that. It did help disrupt my opponent's plays whenever they'd add a good card, and that was also very, very valuable. But always play it at 3. Never play it at anything less, unless you have to. 1 Torrential Tribute. I didn't like this going into the event, but my friend here convinced me to play it, and then another friend convinced me to play it. And the only reason I didn't really like it was because of True Draco. They could just pop it with like Disciples or something. But then again, it's kind of like you would with any other trap. They could pop any trap. One Ring of Destruction, like I said, you want to out big monsters. It's your weakness of the deck. And this also applies to like the main win con of the deck, which is burning your opponent or like making their life points very low very fast. Another very useful thing about this is you can like interrupt your opponent's combos just by hitting the right monster, and then Invoked doesn't play any trap cards, so you wait for them to summon the Mechaba. Never hit the Mech Knights. The Mech Knights are bait. Wait for them to summon the Mechaba or the Purgatrio, and then just pop them with this, and then they pretty much lost their turn. 2 strike. This did help quite a bit. I mainly just use it against hand traps. 1 judgment. I actually hated resolving this all the time. There was one time I could have actually resolved it that might have won me a game, but I messed it up pretty bad. Let's go ahead and get into the side deck. We'll go to extra deck and then side. So for the extra deck, we played 1 Holly. She's great in theory. I actually never had to summon her. 1 Underclock Taker. This won me the regional flight. I ended up using 2 monsters that I had on the field to go into this, and then I had a reincarnation. Oh, I used a monster and a Candina to go into this. I had reincarnation in my graveyard, so I banished the reincarnation to summon back the Candina, and I used this targeting the Candina and my opponent's monster because they each had 1800 attack, so it went to 0. And then he was at 24, so I linked for 3, and I went into another card, my extra deck, and just attacked for game. 1 Akashic Magician. I only resolved it once. I actually only played this to out the Harbinger Vortex Firewall board, because that's the only out I could think of in the extra deck that could actually work, other than Borreload, and I don't have a Borreload. We have the Scapegoat package. This is what wins you games whenever you resolve your Scapegoat. I actually came across like more than one situation where I would just, instead of using my tokens to go into the normal Mrs. Radiant, Link Spider, I just go use both tokens, go into Mrs. Radiant, go into Mrs. Radiant, and then it puts them both at 24, and it puts a lot of pressure on your opponent, and they can't do much. And then, of course, this adds into OTK potential if you have a Candina. Then Ningirsu just outs non-targetable things and destruction things, like if it would be destroyed by card effect, etc., etc. And then, because of Ningirsu, instead of playing Proxy, I played 1 Priestess, because you find it pretty common where you'll have a Trickstar on board, and you have a Link Spider. And so you have Trickstar, Link Spider, and this, and then your other Link Spider. You use the Trickstar, you go into Ib down here, then you use your other Link Spider and your Mrs. Radiant, and then you get a draw 1. Your Ningirsu now can't be Ghost Ogred, which actually has happened to me quite a bit. And now you don't have to worry about getting destroyed by battle, etc., etc. And it's got 1800 attack, and Proxy's only got 400.
14.
Or yeah, 14, not 4. This is the card that I was saying that I went into Underclock Candina play. This is the card that won me that game. 1 Firewall. I actually never summoned it. I had 1 chance to summon it, but I didn't need to. You play this because you play Scapegoat and Lily, and if you open up a hand where you have a Licorice in hand already and a way to search your Lily, what you do is you've resolved a Scapegoat, obviously. You flip the Scapegoat up, it goes to your turn. If your opponent has 1800 attack on field, you just link for 4, go straight into Firewall, put the Licorice, summon the Lily, attack directly, they lose 800 or 1000 depending on if you have a field spell. And then you use Licorice, special Licorice down at the link point, and then you crash the Licorice into the 1800 attack, Firewall effect activate, you added your Lily back to your hand, so you special it. Oh, you want to special it away from the Firewall most of the time, so you can put your Licorice down here. And then you just repeat the process and it creates a quick OTK. 1 Saryuja, great in theory, never summoned it. It's basically just Eater of Millions fodder. One Acid Golem. This won me a game against Pendulum. It's a lot better than most people think it is. One Break Sword. This and Grand Pulse both stole me games against True Draco. And then into the side deck, 3 Mask of Restrict. I never saw it. As long as you play it kind of like you would with an anti-spell and a Twin Twister against True Draco's like Diagram Papa spell play, you should be fine. And then most of the time they're probably not going to expect it because who sides Mask of Restrict against True Draco? Anti-spell, you can side this in with the Mask of Restrict so they can't activate their Diagram anyway. But it's really just there for the Pendulum matchup. 3 Effect Veiler. I wanted to play this because in the main event I didn't have Ashes, and this was my this was the only thing I could think of to out a Predaplant play where they had Brilliant Fusion, and I actually resolved this multiple times where I negated a Predaplant and they didn't add their fusion and it slowed them down a lot. And then the other thing is I wanted to make sure I didn't lose out to FTK. 2 Called by the Grave, always side this in. Your deck dies to hand traps. A lot of the time your opponent's going to side into hand traps. Always side it in. 2 Chalice, this is just out there to out like Mechaba, Vortex, Masterpiece. Kaiju's again out to there to out Mechaba, Mechaba, Vortex, Masterpiece. That's the deck. In the main event, first round, I played against a guy who'd never played Trickstar. He was playing Burning Abyss. I 2-0'd him. Second round, I played against Alfie. He was playing 60 card. I 2-0'd him. Third round, I played against Jeff Jones. And I lost 1-2. That's where I was saying that Judgment play. He'd summoned a Black Rose, and I basically said it was okay for him to summon the Black Rose, and I couldn't activate this to negate it. And that lost me that game. Fourth round was to Cameron Neal, and he was playing Pendulum Magician, and I actually ended up losing to him 1-2, and not because of a misplay or anything. I just opened terrible on my last game. Fifth round, I played against, I believe it was True Draco, 2-0'd very quickly. It was over in like 5 minutes. Again, Break Sword, Grand Pulse just steals you games against them. Sixth round was another Burning Abyss mirror. Or not mirror, it was another Burning Abyss matchup. It was a little grindy, but I pulled through. Seventh round, I played against Noah Green, another 60 card deck, and he opened grass both times. When I was playing Jeff in round 3, he also opened grass last game, and I didn't have the Ash to stop it. Obviously, because I didn't have Ash in the main event. And 8th round was a no-show, so that didn't really matter. Alfie was my only good tiebreaker. He ended up only getting 13 points, so I placed above him at like 144, and only 128 made it to round 9 and 10. In the main event, I actually didn't play Ashes at all. I played 2 Chain Summoning, 1 Upstart, and that's because I couldn't get Ashes. And in the side event, I played one Altergeist, played another 60 card, 1-2-0. Or no, yeah, I won 2-0. Played a True Draco again, 1-2-0, Break Sword, Grand Pulse, of course. And then last round I played Pendulum FTK with DDD, which is a very interesting deck list, and unfortunately he bricked games 2 and 3. But fortunately for me, that means I get this pretty deck box, this mat, and my invite. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I guess, shout out to Jacob Stade for letting me borrow his Reincarnations and his Lilybell, the shiny Lilybell. Shout out to Phoenix over here for getting me all this max rarity stuff and letting me make my deck look pretty for the event. Shout out to him again for getting the Ashes, of course. Shout out to the crew that went with me. Shout out to the Wichita crew, Dakota, Johnny, PJ, James. And, of course, like and subscribe to Zephyrico.